Hi handstand crew, making a little video for you to go through the results from the handstand testing and the corresponding exercises that are recommended. I'm going to send you each, or I am sending you each along with this video, your individual results plus another document that summarizes the exercises related to each of the tests, and some guidelines for you putting your own program together to build strength, as well as how we're going to target these as a group in our Friday morning sessions. I am going to make available to come in over the holidays and just have a chat about it with me so that it all makes sense. But hopefully between this video, your individual results, and then the document that I put together, where it all makes sense to you. So the first thing I'm going to remind us all is the tests that we did before I start showing us the exercises. So the tests that we did, and I'm going to give the codes as well. So the first one is ER0, which is external rotation at waist height. So this is the one where we had the strength tester on our wrists, and we were pulling outwards as the physio pulled back against us. So external rotation at waist height, both sides, is ER0. The next one we did is ER90, which is where we were doing external rotation with the arm at 90 degrees out to the side. And so the external rotation is actually pulling back against the tester, pulling us this way, and internal rotation is pulling forwards with the resistance going that way. So ER90 is back that way, and IR90 is internal. Then we had the two tests lying on the bed. The E90 Prone is again an external rotation, but this is the one where we were lying on the bed with our arm out to the side, and we were pulling up with a bent elbow, so it's activating all through the back. The other one lying on the bed is the F90 Supine. So this is one where we're lying on our back, our arm was here, and we pushed up overhead, so it's like an overhead punching movement. Then we did the test, which is HF load, which is probably the hardest test of all of them, where we were out in front and lifting up against the resistance on both sides. And then the last two tests were external and internal rotations again, but this time we were in front at 90 degrees. The external rotation is backwards and the internal rotation is forwards. So this one is ER in HF, and this one is IR in HF. So the results that you have in your document from the physios shows your score against each of those tests, so your strength in newtons, and it compares you against an active female or male and an athletic female or male. An active female or male is sufficient. An athletic female or male is probably what we should be targeting for high-level handstand practice. So for the most of us, for all of us, we've got a lot of work to do. You don't need to do any more than 10 repetitions. You want to be working your 10 reps roughly so that you don't want a total fail, but you want to be, by the end of the 10, really feeling fatigue in those muscles to be building strength. And the thing I want you really focusing on is time under tension and attention. If you find you are racing to get through your 10 just to get through 10, wind it back. Don't try to get through 10. We want to get through high quality reps with a good concentric, which is working against the muscle, and eccentric, which is working on the way back in. We really want to get good tension and attention in both of those movements. So if for you that's 5 reps, that's enough, and then gradually build up to 10. In daily practice or practice every, you can think about, in some cases, doing like 10 minutes twice a day. You might do 10 minutes once a day. Even if you can find 10 to 15 minutes every second day, that is going to significantly help you. But we're not talking about dedicating half an hour, 45 minutes. This should be quick and easy. There's not a heap of movements. So, keep it simple. If you've got significant weakness in your lower external rotation, as well as, and it would make sense then that you've got it up here and that you've got it here, start low and build the strength low before you start to add in the higher things. If then you don't need to work here, don't do that. You don't need to do that movement. So you're building the strength in the range of motion that you need to build it in at the level that's right for you. In terms of the exercises then that target each of those movements, and I've got these written up in the Word document. So effectively what we need to do is put resistance against the test that we did and do it repeatedly. So external rotation at waist height is then, is then working with a band at waist height, and we can tie this on a door, and we are externally rotating out against the band and coming back in. So you can do that with one, depending on the bands that you've got and how heavy they are. You can come out and come in. It's not necessary to get that all the way out to 90 degrees. As long as you are putting resistance on the band, we want to make sure we set the shoulder before we start. Set the shoulder. It can be sometimes a good cue to put the feet together, because putting the feet together forces you to brace with your core as well. And then we rotate out to the side, really feeling those muscles engage. We can hold. So a really good way to build strength is then to control the eccentric movement, which is the coming back in. Can slow the movement down on the way back in. Pause, reset the shoulder, and go again. You can do that, and this is how we will do it in class, holding a band and doing that bilaterally, which means you're doing both arms at the same time. Depending on your level of strength and ability to activate and focus, at home, it might be advisable just to do one at a time. The other thing I should have said about the external and internal rotation is you want to keep the elbow still and just move the hand. You also want to pay attention to what is the wrist doing. You're not going to move the shoulder with your wrist, but for me personally, I have a tendency to flex my wrist as I try to extend. So just pay attention to what you're doing with the arm. You don't want to move your wrist at all. You just want to keep the shoulder nice and set, wrist nice and set, rotate out or in. If you find you have a tendency in doing these exercises to let the elbow come away to the body and like try and go out that way, you can roll up a towel and hold that in as you rotate, and that will help you to maintain that connection as you rotate in and out. You can also do this in side lying with a weight. So this little sand weight's only 800 grams. You can use a tin of beans, which might be 400 grams, depending on how strong you are. So just coming down on the floor for our external rotation with the arm lying on our sides. So in this one, just legs comfortable, bottom arm out underneath, rolled up pillow so the elbow and the shoulder stay in line. And then from here, we want to set the shoulder, lift the hand up into external rotation, and then coming back down again in internal rotation. Now obviously that on the eccentric contraction is also going to work a little bit of internal, and then up is external. Each time you come back down, set the shoulder and lift up. Come back down. I find this can be helpful to do in front of a mirror or a reflective surface. So you can just check that the hand is staying at 90 degrees and that your wrist also stays in the right spot. You know, I have a tendency to kind of move a bit weird, and so it helps if I get that visual feedback of what I'm doing with my arm and my hand to make sure I'm in the right spot. So then we move up to our external rotation exercises up here, and doing those either with a band or again with a weight. So with a band, if we're working at shoulder height, if we're doing our ER or IR in HF, we're here and we're pushing out with the hand, trying to get that externally rotated as far as we can. And really feel that through there. Again, remembering each time, set the shoulder, find the position, rotate, and come back up. That's quite strong, but also, you know, there's only limited mobility in that range, so you're not going to get very far. Internal rotation, same thing. Up here, rotating in, trying to keep the elbow still. You might remember the physios gave us some cue to keep that elbow still, so you might even do that with your other hand. Just take a bit of resistance off that. And just rotating in. So that's ER and IR in HF. The other one, which is ER, IR 90. I'll show this one from behind. So we're holding here and rotating back and just pulling back and then coming back in. Depending on how heavy your band is, if you can get a little bit of resistance further out and then rotate all the way back, that is useful as well. But what we're really trying to get that external rotation at shoulder height, and similarly with the internal rotation at shoulder height, we're here trying to keep the elbow still and rotating forwards. So that's ER and IR in 90, ER and IR in HF, and then we've got ER, IR 0. Remembering we start low before we come up. We can also do those same high rotations with a weight. So for external rotation, we start here and we lift up, and then we come down, we lift up, come down, we lift up. Again, thinking about that eccentric contraction, which is coming down, doing that with control, and then coming back up. You don't have to come all the way back down to 90, but you can if you want to. That actually works internal and external, both with a weight. So you can decide, and then similarly you could do that here with a weight, internal, external, internal, external. Then we have our E90 Prone test, which is the one where we were lying down and lifting that way, and so it makes sense that we do the same thing either with a weight, or we can do high rows with a band. So we can do a wide bent over row, and this one helps if you've got a chair or a table to put your hand on the other side. Bend over, checking that your elbow is at 90 degrees, your hands at 90 degrees to the elbow, so it helps to do this in front of a reflective surface. And then again, really thinking about starting from the inside, contracting the muscles, lifting the elbow up and coming back down. It doesn't need to be a big movement. We're just working on those shoulder muscles at the back. Then our F90 Supine, which is our overhead. We can do this with a band, standing on the band, starting here and just punching straight up overhead. Again, controlling the eccentric movement back down. Depending on the strength of your band, you could do both arms together and that'll build strength there. You might find you need something a bit stronger, and so that one we can then obviously do that with a weight, holding the weight, punching up, coming back down. Again, time under attention and tension. This one we've got a few different options on the HF load. We're going to start doing a couple of these in our prep. For those of you who were there on Friday, we did them already. So for these ones we can do what are called Serratus punches. So standing side on, contract the shoulder blades and then protract the shoulder blades as far as you can. Pull them back in and push. Pull them back in, push. Pull them back in and push. If you've got access to a gym, that can be a really good one to do with a cable machine, where you can really punch forward and extend and come all the way back with resistance the whole way. So punch, extend, and then coming back in on that eccentric contraction, pulling back in, and then swap sides. So really, to get max benefit out of that, you need a cable machine. You can do it with a dumbbell, has similar benefits, but it's not quite as good. Then we've got what are called Scaption Ys, and this can be with dumbbells or bands. So we're in bands, we're going to do this in our warm-up. Now, standing with our feet together, like we're holding dumbbells by our side. So we've got the band like that. We're going to come up, taking our arms up at about 90 degrees to the side, if you can up to overhead, and then just because it's handstands we can do a little extension as well and come back down again. So with the band, standing up, set the shoulders, lifting up, push, 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 up, do a little extension shrug, and then coming back down again. So we can do that with a band, or again, if we've got dumbbells, little weights, we can do the same movement, set the shoulders, come up, and roughly 30 degrees, shrug, and then come back down. Obviously, the stronger you are, the heavier weight that you want to use. For that HF load, interestingly, the other exercise, which is incredibly powerful, is a push-up to full protraction and compression. So depending on the level that you're working at, a push-up at the wall can be very sufficient. So we can push up at the wall, we can push up on an elevated surface like a table, so we start to get a bit further, or you know, I could even do them here on the rail, so I'm getting a little bit more into a push-up position. We could come down to a coffee table or to the floor on knees, and then all the way to feet. So for a number of the shoulder strength positions, push-ups are a really good option. So I think we're going to do more of those in class in the push, and I highly recommend keeping working on push-ups at home. Working at a level where you can push yourself hard without really hurting yourself. And that's it. So hopefully that's helpful, and I'll see you in class soon. Thanks.